This is Apropos. Iran regularly claims to arrest or execute spies working for the Israeli intelligence service Mossad. This week, it said it had detained 30 people, including one foreign national it accused of spying on behalf of the US and Israel and acting as a proxy for two Gulf states. It comes as further details emerge about how Israeli and American authorities spent weeks tracking the movements of senior Iranian leaders, sharing information that allowed the initial strikes on Tehran to be successfully carried out. James Vazina has the details.
An announcement made by Iran's intelligence ministry in which officials said they'd arrested 30 people. That includes one foreigner who was detained in the northeast of the country for
spying on behalf of two Persian Gulf countries in the name of the American Zionist enemy, transmitting information about the location and movements of police and army forces.
Human rights groups say that the charges may have been made up and that the arrests were carried out to try and win concessions from other countries. Tehran denies having detained people for political reasons. The situation is reminiscent of the wave of arrests carried out during last year's 12-day war. 700 Iranians were accused of acting as agents for Israel by controlling drones, building explosives and passing on data. Israel's intelligence agency has long relied on help from inside to infiltrate Iran, as was the case in the attack that killed Ali Khamenei. According to Al Jazeera, Mossad is able to cooperate with opposition groups inside of Iran who are willing to join forces for ideological reasons. Aid from people who hold dual citizenship avoids raising suspicion as Israel gathers intelligence from within.
Well, for more, we're joined now by Dr. Aviva Guttmann, a lecturer in strategy and intelligence at the Department of International Politics at Aberystwyth University. Thanks so much for being with us on the programme. Firstly, talk to us a little bit about what role Israeli spies have played in tracking and targeting Iranian leaders, military commanders, nuclear scientists, not just in this current conflict, but over the past decade or so.
Yes, thank you. I think it is really important to remind ourselves that since 2022, the Israeli government has put Iran as a threat, as a priority. So we have seen it took 1 minute to take down Ali Khamenei, but it took probably like 20 years of preparation for these kind of attacks. But I'm happy to go a bit more into detail. But just to remind us that this really is an operation that has been prepared in a long haul, that has been step by step, bit by bit for, I would say, really 20 years. This has been in the planning and in the preparation and in studying Iran, determining its weak points, and infiltrating it, and going through the society.
Well, take us through. Sorry for cutting across you. Take us through some of those steps. Perhaps you say it's been 2 decades or so in the making. How exactly does Mossad manage to penetrate the most tightly guarded circles of the Iranian security and intelligence apparatus?
So I think also what we have to understand is that there's quite a bit of a Persian diaspora in Israel itself, so it can draw from quite a bit of expertise on Iran. It has developed an expertise. It knows a lot about its culture. It knows a lot about the language, the political system. So there is a huge expertise on Iran, and that at first, before every operation, it's studying and understanding your enemy, if you will. And I think what I understood is its weak point is precisely the authoritarian and discriminatory regime. And there are a lot of people who just disagree with the regime, lots of dissidents. So they have, for quite a while already, tried to capitalize on this opposition. There are minorities like the Kurds, the Azeris, or the Balochis who will have worked together with the Israelis. So those are the people who voluntarily will have been recruited by the Israelis and try to work together with them to try to have. They are both basically, they both want regime change. But what we also have what in intelligence parlance we would call infrastructure agents. So these are people And this might be the people that have been arrested. These are people who Mossad will be using to acquire all the necessary logistics. So that can be a Mossad front company who will be hiring somebody to drive a car for place A or place B, and those people might not even realize that they are actually working for Mossad, because Mossad will be hiding behind a company, for instance. And also Mossad, we know Mossad has posed as Iranian dissidents in exile. So people who thought that they actually talking to their or working with their fellow dissidents were actually it was the Israelis behind. So I would say they were using every single trick in the toolbox of an intelligence agency that is available, with a very, very careful study of the Iranian society and the carefully geared plan towards them. The other type of agents that Mossad would be using is called then the combatants. Those are people that Israelis will have trained, probably not in Iran itself, but abroad, and those will be the ones who will then do the operations and carry out military operations. Yes, and I think all of that is based on the realization that the Israelis thought it is too dangerous for Israelis themselves to operate in Iran. So they needed to have local networks on the ground who can do the job with them, for them. And I think a lot of them can also be managed abroad with the technological means that we have nowadays. It can, we don't have to be in a place, as we all know, in order to do spy work. I think we are focusing quite a bit on human agents. We should not forget that they also have a massive technological advantage, especially in pairing up with the Americans. So the Americans and the Israelis, I think, are really on top of spyware. One can infiltrate a phone, on a phone that we use every day. And we don't even know that somebody is listening in and is also watching whatever we are watching. And the camera can also see everything that it wants to see without the person who has the phone realizing it. So we do know that the Iranian leaders have been advised not to use their phone, but we also have heard that they love their phones. They don't want to give up their phones. And so it might just be that there's a weakness that was exploited in that way as well. One further aspect, I think, also is the use of AI. There is Unit 9900 in the Israeli military intelligence, who is collecting all kind of information, all kind of data. And then it uses AI to sift through them and to get a picture, a very specific picture that we can zoom in. So they're taking satellite images, hacked CCTV cameras, other openly available sources, the information from the phones that they have hacked, and also the information that the local agents will give them. And all of that is fed into a massive database, and through that, then AI can be extremely useful in creating a clear picture. Among others, for Ali Khamenei, for instance, they will be able to find out his daily routines of him, his family members, his associates, and they have been able to build a profile for years about him.
And you mentioned mobile phone use there, or misuse. How much of Mossad's success can also come down to kind of carelessness by its enemies? And are these spies also benefiting from the fact that Iranian intelligence services themselves have been so downgraded?
I think the Iranian intelligence agencies are extremely geared to internal control, surveillance, and keeping the regime in place. So it might be that they have not the same counterintelligence capacities in order to spot Israeli or CIA or other foreign intelligence agencies' capacities to prevent that infiltration and that degree of manipulation. Yeah, so it is possible that and that's absolutely, that is also the key of every intelligence agency, to study where are the weak points and how can they be exploited. And it seems that the long study and the long analysis has paid off to some degree in these recent events.
And Aviva, Israel itself also seems to have weak points. Authorities there have previously charged their own citizens with spying for Iran, so it seems to work the opposite way as well. How successful has Tehran been when it comes to trying to infiltrate Israeli echelons, the Israeli security apparatus and the government there?
This is hard to tell, but what we do know is that the Iranians have kind of worked with a new method, and it's called disposable spies, where the idea is that you don't have to have these long haul infiltration, but you want, for instance, to commit a sabotage attack in a country, say in Israel. And you're kind of using the gig economy in order to perpetrate a terrorist attack. So you will hire somebody, a bit similar to how Mossad was actually operating, how I was describing the infrastructure agents. We know that Iran, and we also know that the Russians are using these disposable agents, where they commissioning different people for specific tasks, and those people, they don't actually know that they are part of a potential terrorist attack or potential sabotage operation, because they all only are hired, for instance, to drive the car with explosives, that they might not know that there are explosives in there, from place A to place B, and then the next person will be hired to buy petrol, and then the next person will be hired to buy a lighter, and only the one that you actually know then what the whole thing is about will in the end then light the whole thing up. So Iran has made a big emphasis on these disposable agents, and we know that is really dangerous as well, because any government will have a really hard time to tracking these people back to Iran, because it's extremely deniable and very plausibly deniable, and it's difficult to track, and those people themselves may not have realized that they were actually part of an Iranian sabotage operation.
It's a fascinating topic, but we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for being with us in the programme, Aviva.
Right.
That is Dr. Aviva Guttmann, Lecturer in Strategy and Intelligence at the Department of International Politics at Aberystwyth University. Well, that's it.